Okay, today's lesson is how to solve a quadratic equation. So first of all, this is a parabola, quadratic equation when it's graphed. There are three possibilities for its solutions. So in this case, there would be no solutions because it has no roots. It will never ever cross the x-axis. This parabola will only cross the x-axis at one specific point, right on the vertex. So if the vertex is right on the x-axis, there's one solution. And here there's going to be two solutions. Okay. Likewise, we could do the same kind of idea if it was a negative inverted parabola. Okay, so here are the different methods we're going to look at. Factoring. Okay, in factored form, we can understand. So a couple lessons ago when we talked about the basics, right here, that was our factored form. So that will give us the roots. Factoring, the process of factoring. So in grade 10, you've learned some of this. Simple trinomials, complex or hard trinomials, greatest common factor, GCF, and difference of squares. We're going to learn the quadratic formula, and we're going to use the calculator. Okay, so this is the factored form. So that's been given to you. So this equation is in factored form. So without graphing it, what are the x-intercepts? They would be 3, because if I plug in a 3, 3 minus 3 makes this 0, 0 times this number, and this number is going to still be 0. And this would be negative 1. Will this have a minimum or maximum? Okay, so if I look at this negative 2, that is the A, so that means my parabola will open downward, and then my vertex will be there, which would be a max. Okay, so let's put this on our calculator. So y equals negative 2, and then we'll enter the equation. Okay, so there's the equation. If I hit my trace button, let's just check out negative 1, 0. That is correct. And if I push 3, enter, 3, 0. So we were correct. Okay, factoring. Okay, so this one is a simple trinomial. Okay, so I want this to equal 0, right? The height is 0. On this x-axis, the y value is 0, the height is 0. And when we do simple trinomials, we'll do 2 brackets. The front will be x times x, because that would give you x squared. And this times this will need to multiply to 20. But at the same time, we're also going to have to try to get a 9 out of it. So a negative 5 and a negative 4, those two numbers multiply to 20, add together to get negative 9. So if I FOIL, first times first, x squared minus 4x on the outside minus 5x on the inside is my minus 9, and last times last is 20. So that's the FOIL. So now I can say that x equals 5 or 4. Okay, so we will just quickly graph it, just to show you. So it should cross at 5 and 4. So trace, there's my 4, there's my 5. Okay, next one, so 0, 2 brackets, needs to multiply to 24, 1 and 24, not going to get a 5, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, so it looks like 3 and 8, I could get a 5 out of that. So I need to have a positive 5, so positive 8 and negative 3. So those multiply to negative 24, and those add to positive 5. So x equals negative 8, x equals 3. Quickly again, we'll just graph it. And looks like we have 3, yep, and a negative 8. Okay, this is a complex factoring now. Okay, so I'm going to take this first and this last, and it multiplies to negative 6. Okay, now I have to think about a combination that multiplies to negative 6 that would add to negative 1 in the middle. So if this is positive and negative, that multiplies to negative 6 and it adds to negative 1. Okay, now I'm going to go under the 2 and say, how could I have gotten a 2? 1 times 2. How could I get a 3? 1 times 3. Now I'm going to pick combinations that will get me this. So if I take this 1 grouped with that 3, that's how I'm going to get the 3. And the 2 grouped with this 1 gets me a 2. Okay, so 0 equals, so this needs to go into my first spot, right? Because we need to get the f. So x and 2x, that multiplies to 2x squared. Now I've partnered this 1 with the 3, and I've partnered this 2 with a 1. And I wanted the 3 combo to be negative and the 2 combo to be positive. So if I FOIL, ready? First times first, 2x squared, check. Outside's negative 3x, inside's positive 2x, that gets me negative 1x. Last, negative 3. Okay, so my solution is for x, negative 1 and positive 3 over 2. Okay, let's graph this. So 2x squared minus x minus 3. So there it is. So it should cross at negative 1 and 1.5. Okay, next one. So I'm going to loop and get a negative 30, 130, 215, 310, 5, 6. So it has to be negative. One of them is going to be negative, one's positive. So I have to use this one because negative, positive. That gets me negative 13. So you're probably wondering, well, why couldn't I have done this one with negative, negative? Yeah, that would get you negative 13, but if they were both negative, then you wouldn't get a negative 30, you'd get a positive 30. Okay, so 15, 1, 15, 3 and 5, 1 and 2. So look for groupings that could get you a 15 and a 2. So it looks like I'm going to not use this one. So I'm going to use this with this. I see a 15 and a 2. So 0 equals x 15x. So there's my 15x squared. I'm grouping the 1x with a 2 and the 15x with a 1. Okay, so 2x I want it to be positive, 15x I want negative. So FOIL it out, 15x squared, that's there. Positive 2x minus 15x is minus 13 and negative 2. So x equals 1 or negative 2 divided by 15. Okay, graphing this, 15x squared. Okay, so I'm going to activate the trace, the cursor, so 1, that works, and negative 2/15. Enter, and that's right there. Looks like it works. Okay, next we're gonna do a GCF. Okay, so 0 for the y. So on this one, a GCF is there's something common I can take out. Each term has an x in it, so I'm going to take out an x. So when I divide out an x, I have an x left. When I divide an x out, I have a negative 10. So now x could equal 0, or x could equal 10. Okay, and you can verify that on your calculator. So x squared minus 10x. Just gonna increase my window a little bit so you can see. So if I trace 0, it's crossing, and at 10. Okay, next one. So y is going to be 0. And out of all those terms, do they have something in common? Yes, they could all be divided by 2. So I'm going to go 2. Okay, and now this trinomial is a simple trinomial. So I'm going to go xx, what multiplies to 18, that would add to 9, 6 and 3. So now I look at my x and say what should it be to make 0? Negative 6 and negative 3. Okay, so we'll graph it to confirm. So trace negative 3, it works, and negative 6 also works. Okay, next is a difference of squares, so 0 for the y. So difference of squares is 2 brackets, so x and x makes your x squared, and then to make the 16, you would need a plus 4 and a minus 4. And then thinking about the FOIL in the middle, you would have no x's, because minus 4x and plus 4x, that's why you have no middle term. So here x equals negative 4 or positive 4. Okay, we'll graph it to show you. I'm going to go back to my regular window, zoom 6, so you can see that it crosses at 4 and negative 4. Okay, next is also a difference of squares, so 0. Okay, so here I'm thinking about the square root, so what would make 9x squared 3x times 3x? Does that make sense? 9x squared. And what makes 16? A 4 and a 4. And now it's going to be a plus minus so that it always is canceling out the middle. So minus 12x, positive 12x is going to be gone. So x equals negative 4/3 or positive 4/3. So 9x squared minus 16 crosses at 4/3. Yep, and negative 4/3. Okay, next method is the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so when you're using this formula, this is what you're using for your a, your b, and your c. Okay, that's the formula. So a is the coefficient to the x squared, b is the coefficient to the x, and c is the constant. Okay, so here our a is how many x squareds? 1. B is 12, and c would be 36. Okay, so x equals negative b, so negative 12, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 12 squared is 144, minus 4 bracket 1 bracket 36. Okay, all that needs to be under the square root. Then the whole fraction is divided by 2 times 1. Okay, so now I go into my square root piece and I just go 144, subtract 4 times 36. So that is 0. So the square root of 0 is 0. So our answer should be -6. Okay, so now verify this with factoring. So 0 equals x. What multiplies to 36 and would add to 12? 6 times 6 adds to 12. So here x equals -6, and same thing. And then verify on your calculator. So there you go. This is a quadratic that will have one solution. Vertex is on the axis. Solve with the quadratic formula. Okay, so x equals -b. So I'm just going to write this out here. 2 is the a, b is -3, c is -4. So -b is +3. You just write the opposite. Plus or minus the square root of this squared is +9 minus 4 to -4. All of that is divided by 2 times 2. Okay, so now we're going to go calculate what's under the square root. So 9 subtract 4 times 2 times -4 is 41. Okay, so calculator, you need to make sure you put this top piece in brackets. 3 plus square root 41. I need 2 brackets on that, I guess. So that divided by 4 is 2.35. Okay, I'm actually going to go second enter, and it brings that up again. I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to change it to subtract this time. Okay, you have to do both options. So plus it once, minus it once, -0.85. Let's graph it. It's 2x squared minus 3x minus 4. Okay, so second calculate the 0, left bound. So I'm going to go -2 to 0. It's between there, -0.85. And then for the other one, I'm thinking it's between 2 and 3. Let's check it out. 2.35. Okay, that's it.